நம்ம இப்போ என்ன பார்க்க போகிறோம்னா நீட் 2023ல் பாட்னியில் என்னென்ன சாப்டர்ஸ்லேருந்து எவ்வளோ கொஷின்ஸ் வந்திருக்கு, அதோட வெயிட்டேஜ் என்ன அப்படிங்கிறது. ஃபஸ்ட்டு பிளான் கிங்டம், இது சாப்டர் நம்பர் 3ல் இருக்கக்கூடிய லெசன். இதுலேருந்து இந்த வருஷத்தில் மொத்தம் 3 கொஷின்ஸ் வந்திருக்கு. நெக்ஸ்ட்டு மார்ஃபாலஜி ஆஃப் ஃப்ளவரிங் பிளான்ஸ், அதுலேருந்து 3 கொஷின்ஸ். அனட்டமி ஆஃப் ஃப்ளாரிங் பிளான்ஸ், அதுலேருந்து 3. தென் பயோமாலிகுல்ஸ், பயோமாலிகுல்ஸ்லேருந்து என்சைம்லேருந்து மட்டும் ஒரு கொஷின் வந்திருக்கு. ஸோ மொத்தமாக 2. தென் செல் சைக்கிள் அண்ட் செல் டிவிஷன்லேருந்து 3. தென் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் இன் பிளான்ஸ், ஸோ பிளான்ட் ஃபிசியாலஜியில் ஈக்குவல் இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் கொடுத்து கொஷின்ஸ் கேட்டிருக்காங்க இந்த இயர். ஸோ டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் இன் பிளான்ஸில் 3 கொஷின், மினரல் நியூட்ரிஷனில் 2, ஃபோட்டோசிந்தசிஸ் இன் ஹையர் பிளான்ஸில் 3, ரெஸ்பிரேஷன் இன் பிளான்ஸில் 2 கொஷினு, பிளான் க்ரோத் அண்ட் டெவலப்மெண்ட்டில் 2. ஸோ இது வந்து 11th ஸ்டாண்டர்டில் அவங்க கேட்டிருக்கிறது. ஸோ அதிகமாக கொஷின்ஸ் எந்த சாப்டர்லேருந்து வந்திருக்குன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கே வெயிட்டேஜ் பார்க்கும்போது தெரியும். பிளான்ட் ஃபிசியாலஜி தட் இன்க்ளூட்ஸ் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் இன் பிளான்ஸ், மினரல் நியூட்ரிஷன், photosynthesis in higher plants, respiration in plants and plant growth and development. So plant physiology ங்கிற டாபிக்ல இருந்து மட்டும் so this year 12 questions out of 50 ல 12 questions from plant physiology. Okay, ஸோ இப்போ வந்து நெக்ஸ்ட்டு 12th ஸ்டாண்டர்டில் எவ்வளோ சாப்டர்ஸ்லேருந்து வந்திருக்குன்னு பார்க்க போகிறோம். ஸோ 12th ஸ்டாண்டர்டில் ரீப்ரொடக்ஷன்லேருந்து செக்ஷுவல் ரீப்ரொடக்ஷன் ஆஃப் ஃப்ளாரிங் பிளான்ஸ்லேருந்து 2 கொஷின்ஸ், பிரின்சிபல்ஸ் ஆஃப் இன்ஹெரிட்டன்ஸ் அண்ட் வேரியேஷன்லேருந்து 3, மாலிகுலர் பேசிஸ் ஆஃப் இன்ஹெரிட்டன்ஸ்லேருந்து 5, ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிஸ் ஃபார் என்ஹான்ஸ்மெண்ட் இன் ஃபுட் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் தட் கம்ஸ் ஒன்லி ஃப்ரம் பிளான்ட் ப்ரீடிங்லேருந்து மட்டும் 1. ஸோ பயோடெக்னாலஜி பிரின்சிபல்ஸ் அண்ட் ப்ராசஸ்லேருந்து 4 கொஷின், பயோடெக்னாலஜி அண்ட் இட்ஸ் அப்ளிகேஷன்லேருந்து 1, ஆர்கானிசம் அண்ட் பாப்புலேஷன்லேருந்து 2 கொஷின்ஸ், அண்ட் ஈகோசிஸ்டம் 2, பயோடைவர்சிட்டி கன்சர்வேஷன் 2, என்விரான்மெண்டல் இஷ்யூ 2 கொஷின். ஸோ டோட்டலாக 50 கொஷின்ஸில் இந்த வருஷம் என்விரான்மெண்டல் டாப்பிக்கில் இருந்து மட்டும் 8 கொஷின்ஸ் வந்திருக்கு. ஈக்குவல் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் ஃப்ரம் ஆல் த சாப்டர்ஸ். And from molecular base of inheritance, that is from origin and evolution லேருந்து molecular base of inheritance chapterலேருந்து மொத்தம் 5 questions வந்திருக்கு. ஸோ உங்களுக்கு இந்த வருஷம் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் பார்க்கும்போது தெரியும், போன வருஷத்தை விட இந்த வருஷம் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் ரொம்ப டிஃபர் ஆகிருக்கு. எல்லா சாப்டர்ஸ்க்குமே ஒரு ஈக்குவல் இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸான கொஷின்ஸ் வந்து கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. எல்லாத்துலேயுமே 2, 3, 5 அந்த மாதிரி எல்லா சாப்டர்ஸுமே கவர் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஓகேவா? ஸோ இப்போது லெவல் ஆஃப் எக்ஸாமினேஷன் எப்படி இருக்குன்னு பார்க்கலாம். ஸோ நார்மலாக செக்ஷன் ஏ செக்ஷன் பின்னு 2 லெவல் வந்திருக்கும். ஸோ ஃபஸ்ட்டு செக்ஷன் ஏல பாட்னி பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இந்த வருஷம் கேட்ட எல்லா கொஷினுமே ரொம்ப ஈஸி லெவலாக தான் இருந்தது. ட்ரிக்கி கொஷின்னு சொல்லி எதுவுமே கிடையாது. ஸோ லெவல் ஆஃப் ஈஸி வந்து 26 கொஷின் அவுட் ஆஃப் 35ல் 26 கொஷின் வந்து ஈஸி கொஷின்ஸாக தான் இருந்தது. மீடியம் லெவல் ஆஃப் கொஷின் 8, டிஃபிகல்ட்டி கொஷின் வந்து 1. ஸோ அவுட் ஆஃப் 35ல் இந்த வருஷம் பாட்னியில் ட்ரிக்கி கொஷின் எதுவுமே இல்லை. ஸோ 26 கொஷின் ஈஸி கொஷின். அதே மாதிரி செக்ஷன் பியில் நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வென் கம்பேர்டு வித் ஈஸி அண்ட் டிஃபிகல்ட்டி மீடியம் லெவல் ஆஃப் கொஷின்ஸ் தான் ஜாஸ்தியாக இருந்தது. ஸோ அவுட் ஆஃப் 15ல் 3 கொஷின்ஸ் ஈஸியாக இருந்தது, 3 கொஞ்சம் டிஃபிகல்ட்டினஸ் இருந்தது, 9 வந்து ரொம்ப மீடியமாக இருந்தது. ஸோ உங்களால் ஈஸியாக என்சிஆர்டி படிச்சிருந்தாவே அழகாக ஸ்கோர் பண்ணியிருந்துருக்கலாம். தட் இஸ் ஃபார் 50 we can easy to score about 45.
Movement and accumulation of ions across a membrane against their concentration gradient can be explained by. We know the concentration gradient is the key here. So across the concentration gradient there should be some energy spent. So the answer is active transport. Among the evil quartet, which one is considered the most important cause driving extinction of species? Over-exploitation for economic gain, alien species invasions, co-extinctions, habitat loss and fragmentation. Now here all these 4 are cause of extinction of species, but the most important cause is habitat loss and fragmentation. Identify the pair of heterosporous pteridophytes among the following: Selaginella and Salvinia, Xylotum and Salvinia, Equisetum and Salvinia, Lycopodium and Selaginella. The correct answer is Selaginella and Salvinia. Frequency of recombination between gene pairs on same chromosome as a measure of the distance between genes to map their position on chromosome was used for the first time by Alfred Sturtevant. What is the function of tassels in the corn cob? The function of tassels present in the corn cob is for pollination, so to trap pollen grains. Identify the correct statements. Detrivores perform fragmentation, this is correct. The humus is further degraded by some microbes during mineralization, this is also correct statement. Water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into the soil and get precipitated by a process called leaching. This is also the right statement. The detritus food chain begins with living organism. This is the wrong statement here. So what will be the answer? The food chain begins with dead organic compounds. Now, earthworms break down detritus into smaller particles by a process called catabolism. So, here the error is by fragmentation. So, the answer will be A, B and C statements are correct. Given below are two statements, one is labelled as assertion and the other is labelled as reason. So, assertion, late wood has fewer xylary elements without narrow vessels. This is right. Reason is cambium is less active in winters. So, both the statements are correct and the reason explains the assertion. So, the option would be 4. The process of appearance of recombination nodules occurs at which substage of prophase 1 in meiosis. So, the recombination nodules appear in prophase 1 as they have given in the question, and the substage will be Pak18. Which of the following stages of meiosis involves division of centromeres? So, the answer would be anaphase 2, in which the centromere will be divided into 2. During the purification process for recombinant DNA technology, addition of chilled ethanol will precipitate out the DNA because the water molecules and the hydrogen bond, they interact, right? So, the DNA will get precipitated out when we add ethanol. Family Fabaceae differs from Solanaceae and Liliaceae. With respect to the stamens, pick out the characteristics specific to family Fabaceae but not found in Solanaceae or Liliaceae. So, we know that one particular statement which is differ from Solanaceae or Liliaceae with respect to stamens, that would be diadelphous and dithecous anthers present in Fabaceae. Large, colorful and fragrant flowers with nectar are seen in the plants which get pollinated by insects. So, the answer is 4th option, insect pollinated plants. Spraying of which of the following phytohormone on juvenile conifers helps in hastening the maturity period that leads to early seed production. So, which plant hormone helps in fastening, that is hastening the maturity period, is gibberellic acid, GA3. Axial placentation is observed in China rose, petunia and lemon. In axial placentation, the ovules will be attached to the axis. The ovules will be and the placenta is seen in the center of the axis. So, this will be the placenta and this will be the arrangement of ovules, and this placentation is seen in China rose, petunia and lemon. Among eukaryotes, replication of DNA takes place in which phase? So during S phase, the replication of DNA takes place in eukaryotes. How many ATP and NADPH2 are required for synthesis of one molecule of glucose during Calvin cycle? So the number of ATP would be 18 and NADPH2 will be 12. So the option is number 1. In gene gun method used to introduce alien DNA into the host cells, microparticles of dash metal are used. So gene gun method is used for introducing a new DNA fragment into a host cell, and here tungsten or gold will be the microparticles that would carry the DNA. The thickness of ozone in a column of air in the atmosphere is measured in terms of, the unit is Dobson units. Unequivocal proof that DNA is the genetic material was first proposed by Alfred Hershey and Martha Chase. In the equation GPP minus R is equal to NPP, GPP refers to gross primary productivity and NPP refers to net primary productivity. Now what is R? Here the R is the respiratory loss. So when the respiratory loss is subtracted from the gross productivity, we get net primary productivity. What is the role of RNA polymerase 3 in the process of transcription in eukaryotes? So RNA polymerase 3 is responsible for the synthesis of 5S RNA, snRNA and tRNA. So the option is first one. Which micronutrient is required for splitting of water molecule during the process of photosynthesis? We know during the process of photosynthesis, manganese plays a major role, and this is the correct answer, which involves in splitting of water molecules. In angiosperms, the haploid, diploid and triploid structure of a fertilized embryo sac sequentially are. So we should know in a fertilized embryo sac what are all haploid, diploid and triploid. We know very well that the triploid is endosperm, and diploid is zygote. Zygote is always diploid, right? And coming to haploid, it is synergids. So the right option would be number 2. The phenomenon of pleiotropism refers to, what is pleiotropism? Pleiotropism is phenotypic expression, multiple phenotypic expression which is handled by a single gene. So when a single gene will affect multiple phenotypic expression, that is called as pleiotropism. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion and the other is reason. So coming to assertion and reason, ATP is used at 2 steps in glycolysis. Yes or no? In the preparatory phase, in the 2 steps, ATP is utilized. And first ATP is used in converting glucose into glucose 6-phosphate. That is correct. And the second ATP is used in conversion of fructose 6-phosphate into fructose 1,6-diphosphate, be it bisphosphate or diphosphate, it is same. So the reason is correct. So the option would be assertion and reason are true, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion.
Here the question is, cellulose does not form blue color with iodine because when we see the structure of cellulose, it does not have the helical structure. So it cannot hold the iodine molecule and does not produce a blue color. So the correct answer for this question is, it does not contain a complex helix and cannot hold the iodine molecule. And next question is, which hormone promotes internode or a petiole elongation in deep water rice? It is a straight question from NCERT, and the answer for this question is ethylene, which is also called as the gaseous hormone. Okay, this ethylene helps in the internode or a petiole elongation in the deep water rice. And the expressed sequence tag is refers to. When we are going to see about the human genome project, there are two approaches. One is EST, that is expressed sequence tag, and another one is sequence annotation. But here the question is expressed sequence tag means it is normally focusing on all the genes that are expressing the RNA. So the correct answer is all genes that are expressed as RNA. So the correct answer is option 4. Here they are given both statements and we need to find the correct statements from the given option. First, the statement 1 is the force generated by the transpiration can lift the xylem size column of water over 130 meter height. Normally we know the transpiration that creates a strong negative force which is called as the transpirational pull, and this transpiration pull helps to move the water to a great height. So the option, so the statement 1 is correct. In statement 2 they have given transpiration cools the leaf surface sometimes 10 to 15 degrees by evaporative cooling. So we know the major role of transpiration is to cool the surface of the leaf. So this line is directly from NCERT. So the statement 2 is also correct. So the correct answer is both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct. Upon exposure to UV radiation, the DNA strained with ethidium bromide will show. Normally we know the DNA fragments cannot be visualized in the visible light and without straining. When the DNA fragments are get strained with ethidium bromide and visible under UV radiation, it's visible in a bright orange color. So the correct answer for this question is option 3, bright orange color. The historic convention on biological diversity, the Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro in the year. They are asking the year in which the Earth Summit was held. This Earth Summit that called upon all the nations and they are working towards the biodiversity conservation, it is held in the year of 1992. So the correct answer is option number 1, 1992. And the next question is, the reaction center in PS2 has the absorption maxima at. There are usually two photosystem. One is photosystem 1 and another one is photosystem 2. Photosystem 1 usually absorbs the light at a higher wavelength of about 700 nanometer, and PS system 2 absorb the light at the wavelength of about 680 nanometer. Here the question is asked, what is the reaction center in PS2? So the correct answer for this question is option 4, 680 nanometer. And here they are given the assertion and reason, and we need to find the correct option from the given below. And the assertion given is the first stage of gametophyte in the life cycle of mosses is protonema. And the reason is protonema develops directly from the spores produced in the capsule. We know in gymnosperm the first stage is called as protonema, which is usually a creeping, green, filamentous and also branched. So the assertion given here is correct. And the reason is it is directly developed from the spores. It is also correct. So the option is 4, both assertion and reason is correct, and the or is a correct explanation of A. In the tissue culture experiment, the leaf mesophyll cells are put in the culture medium to form callus, and this phenomena may be called as, okay, for the leaf mesophyll cells, is already a differentiated cell. So if we put these differentiated mesophyll cells in a tissue culture, form callus, it undergo de-differentiation process because it is already a differentiated cell. So the correct answer for this question is option A, de-differentiation. The leaf mesophyll cells get de-differentiated and it converted into callus in a tissue culture. And the statement 1 is endark and exarch are the terms often used for the describing the position of secondary xylem in the plant body. And the statement 2 is exarch condition is the most common feature of the root system. First we know the exarch is a condition in center, that is in a pith position, the metaxylem is present and in periphery protoxylem is present. This exarch are usually found in the root system. Now endark, in endark in the pith position we have protoxylem and in periphery we have metaxylem. Okay, this endark is present in the shoot. From here we can conclude that the statement 2 is correct. Usually the exarch condition is the most common feature of the root. But in the statement 1, the endark and exarch are the terms often used for describing the position of secondary xylem. But this metaxylem and protoxylem are derived from the primary xylem. So it is not secondary xylem, it is primary xylem. So the statement 1 is wrong. So the correct answer is statement 1 is incorrect but statement 2 is correct. So option 3 is the correct answer. And the next question is identify the correct statement. The first option they have given is lenticels or the lens shaped opening permitting the exchange of gases. So the option A is correct. The bark formed early in the season is called as soft bark. It is not a hard bark. So option B is wrong. The bark is a technical term that refers to all tissues is exterior to vascular cambium. Usually bark is not a technical term, it is an non-technical term. So option C is also wrong. Bark refers to peridome and secondary phloem. So this option is correct. And the option E is phloem is a single layered thickness, but it is the couple layered thickness. So the option E is wrong. Here they asked us to find the correct statement. So A and D are only correct. So the correct answer is option 1, A and D only. So next question is match list 1 with list 2. They have given the list 1, that is cohesion. Cohesion means it is the mutual attraction among the water molecule. So adhesion molecule is attraction towards the polar surface, and surface tension means more attraction in the liquid phase, and guttation, which is usually seen in the hydrophytes, that is water loss in liquid phase. So the correct answer for this question is option 4, that is cohesion, which is the attraction towards polar surface, and adhesion is more attraction in liquid phase, and surface tension is mutual attraction among water, and the guttation is water losses in liquid phase. And next question is match list 1 with the list 2. Here they are given some of the cell cycle phases and we need to match it with their functions. So first M phase. So M phase is the equatorial division. Then G2 phase. G2 phase where the proteins get synthesized, and quiescent stage. Quiescent stage is the inactive stage, and G1 phase is the interval between the mitosis and initiation of DNA replication. So the correct answer is option 2, that is M phase equatorial division and G2 phase protein synthesis, quiescent stage, that is inactive phase, and G1 phase is interval between mitosis and initiation of DNA replication. So, which of the following statements are correct about the Klinefelter syndrome? So, first we know the Klinefelter syndrome is a genetical disease that have an additional X chromosome resulting in a karyotype of 47XXY. So now we will read the statements given here. This disorder was first described by Langton Down, but this option is wrong. Langton Down discovered the Down syndrome, which is also called as the trisomy 21. Okay. So, such an individuals have overall masculine development, however, they possess the feminine development is also expressed. So, it is correct for the Klinefelter syndrome. The affected individual is not short statured, they were long statured. So, option C is wrong. Physical, psychomotor and mental development is retarded, but these are the symptoms shown in the Down syndrome, not in the Klinefelter syndrome. So, the option 4 is incorrect. So, the fifth option is such individuals are sterile. Usually, the person affected by the Klinefelter syndrome are sterile, not fertile. So, the option E is correct. They ask us to find the correct statement regarding the Klinefelter syndrome. So, the correct option for this is only B and E. So, option 2, B and E only. And here they are given statement 1 and statement 2. We need to find the correct option given below. The statement 1 is, in Gauss competitive exclusion principle states that two closely related species competing for the same resources cannot coexist indefinitely and competitively inferior one will be eliminated eventually. We know in Gauss principle, when the two species competing for the same resource are living in a same area, the competition will occur and the superior species will get win and inferior species will get eliminated. So, the statement 1 is correct. But in statement 2 they are given, in general, carnivores are more adversely affected by competition than the herbivorous. This statement is wrong because herbivores are most adversely affected than carnivores. So, the statement 2 is incorrect. So, the correct answer here is statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is false. So, the option 2 is the correct answer. How many different proteins does the ribosome consist of? This is the straight direct question from NCERT, and answer for this question is 80 different types of proteins are present in the ribosomes. And the next question is, which of the following combination is required for heme osmosis? So, during heme osmosis, we require thylakoid membrane, proton pump, proton gradient and ATP synthesis. So, the answer for this question is option 4. And here they are given the 4 statement and we need to find the incorrect statement. So, for second statement they have said, water hyacinth grows abundantly in eutrophic water bodies and leads to the imbalance in the ecosystem dynamics of the water body. So, this water hyacinth is the aquatic weed which leads to imbalance. So, the option 2 is correct. So, amount of some toxic substances of industrial wastewater increases in the organism at successive trophic level. So, it is the definition for biomagnification. So, this option is also correct, and the fourth option they have given is the microorganisms involved in the biodegradation of organic matter in the sewage polluted water body consumes a lot of oxygen causing a death of aquatic organism. So this also is correct because the microorganisms involved in the biodegradation process absorb the water and leads to reduction of dissolved oxygen level. So option 4 is also correct. In first option they have said the algal bloom, which is also called as the eutrophication, is increased by the excess of organic matter. So up to this statement is correct, but it is not going to improve the water quality. It is going to degrade the water quality and not going to promote the fisheries. So the given statement, the incorrect statement is option 1, because the algal bloom will not improve the water quality, it will degrade. Match list 1 and list 2. Here they are given some of the population interaction and we need to match it with the proper definition. First, mutualism. In mutualism, both the species get benefited. So for mutualism, plus. So mutualism. Next, commensalism. In commensalism, one species get benefited and another species is neither harmed nor benefited. So for commensalism is plus 0. Okay. Then amensalism. In amensalism, one species is harmed and another species is neither harmed nor benefited. So for amensalism, minus 0. Then parasitism. In parasitism, one species is get benefited and another species get harmed. So the interactions for parasitism is plus and minus. Okay. So for mutualism, option 4 plus. For commensalism, option 1 plus and 0. Amensalism for option 2 minus and 0, and for parasitism option 3 plus and minus. So the correct answer for this matches option 1. Our next question is the main step in the formation of recombinant DNA, that is in genetic engineering it is the rDNA technology. They have given the steps, we need to arrange in them in correct sequence. So the first step is we need to isolate the desired DNA fragment. So first step is isolation. Okay. The second step is after isolating the desired DNA fragment, we need to cut the DNA at the specific site with the help of the enzyme which is called as the restriction endonuclease, which is also called as the molecular scissor. So after isolating, we are cutting at a specific site. Then we are amplifying the gene of interest using the polymerase chain reaction. So third step is amplification. Okay. Then the fourth step is insertion of recombinant DNA into the host cell. So the fourth step is insertion. So first one is isolation, second one is cutting of DNA at the desired fragment, third option is amplification, and fourth one is insertion. So the correct sequence of rDNA technology given here is option 2, C, B, D, A. So match list 1 and list 2. Here they are given some of the plant minerals and nutrients and we need to match it with their function. First they are given as iron. So iron is the activator of catalyst, and second is zinc. Zinc is used for the synthesis of phytohormone which is axin. So option 2. And boron. Boron is normally used for the cell elongation and differentiation. And next is molybdenum. Molybdenum is normally used in the nitrogen metabolism, that is the component of nitrate reductase. So the correct answer for this question is option 2, that is A3, B1, C4 and D2. And the next one is match list 1 and list 2. Here they are given some of the reaction and we need to match it with their required enzymes. First one is oxidative decarboxylation, which happens in the link reaction, and the enzyme for that is pyruvate dehydrogenase. Okay. Then glycolysis. Glycolysis is also called as the EMP pathway. So this EMP pathway is the scientists who discovered the glycolysis. They were Emden, Merov and Parnas. Okay. Then oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation which involves in the electron transport chain for the synthesis of ATP, that is energy currency of the cell. Then tricarboxylic acetic acid, it is also called as the citric acid cycle or also called as Krebs cycle, and the enzyme involved here is citrate synthase. So the correct option for this question is option 3, that is oxidative decarboxylation. The enzyme involved is pyruvate dehydrogenase, and the glycolysis is also called as the EMP pathway, and oxidative phosphorylation is involved in electron transport chain, and tricarboxylic acetic acid is citric synthase enzyme is involved in the citric acid cycle. So given below the two statements, one is labeled as assertion and another is labeled as reason. So the assertion given here is, in gymnosperm, the pollen grains are released from the microsporangium and carried by the air currents. Yes, it is true. In gymnosperms, usually the pollen grains are transferred by the wind currents. Yes, but the reason given here is the air currents carry the pollen grains to the mouth of the archegonium, which is the female part, where the male gametes are discharged and the pollen tube is not formed. But normally in the gymnosperms, when the pollen grains are transferred through the air, the pollen tube gets formed and it reaches the mouth of the archegonia and the fusion of gametes occurs. So the reason given here is wrong. Usually the pollen tube gets formed. So the answer is A is true but R is false. So next question is, the assertion is, a flower is defined as the modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes into floral meristem. So this is correct. When the florescent hormones get formed, they get moved from the shoot apical meristem and it changes the meristem into floral meristem. So flower is usually called as the modified shoot. So assertion is correct. And the reason given here is, internode of the shoots gets condensed to produce the different floral appendages laterally at successive nodes instead of leaves. So we know in the shoots, it does not get elongated, it get condensed and it possesses the flowers laterally instead of roots, instead of leaves. So the assertion and reason here is correct. So the answer given is both A and R are correct and R is the correct explanation of A. So option 4 is the correct. So malonate inhibits the growth of the pathogenic bacteria by inhibiting the activity of, that is succinic dehydrogenase. This malonate that inhibits the activity of enzyme succinic dehydrogenase, which involves in the Krebs cycle. So the correct answer is succinic dehydrogenase.